Good morning, Jenny.
Good morning, Chuck.
Jenny went to the Rams game last night, which was a great game.
It was a great
They
game.
actually look legit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Michael and I are saying.
I mean, Stafford, and he's my quarterback in my fantasy league.
Oh, well
just so
done,
you know.
sir.
So, I mean, he looks pretty legit.
It's amazing to have a true quarterback.
I know, how fun.
It's
How fun. And I saw that Jeremy was there, so he's back and healthy and happy.
Yes, that was, and it made it all the sweeter.
Good. I'm really happy to hear that.
Thanks.
Really happy to hear that. So, anyways, I was a little late today, as Adam was yelling at me about this morning, because I just got so sucked into this book. I don't know what's happening to me as I'm getting older.
You're getting older.
The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman.
We all need to know.
We read, went over the first couple of chapters before, and I thought I'd touch on that real quick, and then it gets heavy.
Heavier than that?
Oh man, I mean, this book gets heavy. For those of you guys that are on, it's, I mean, you're going to be looking back at your past relationships, you're going to be looking at where you're at now, what you can do to get better, and you know, again, I know this is Monday Motivation, but I really think, Jenny, that having your shit together mentally is so important in your relationships to being able to function well in the business world.
Totally.
I don't know if you're like it, but like when I used to have issues, I had to go home and try to fix them.
Yeah.
I could not work. Did you ever have that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and I think we always will. I mean, that's human nature, it's relationships. And even with, I know today's really not about kids, but even if you and your kids aren't doing well, or siblings, it's just you're a mess.
It's true. It's true. So really, if you recall, I'm going to just get us caught up real quick. Because it's been weeks.
Weeks.
It has been weeks, huh?
I think it's been a month for me.
It has, hasn't it? That's right. So, and basically, I didn't want to talk about this by myself.
No, that's awkward.
I'm going to talk about it by myself. So, but basically, it's about your love tank. And it's about filling up each other's emotional needs. And I like what you said, kids, family, friends, because I don't like, if someone's not in a relationship, I don't want them to think that this isn't important, because it's just important for functioning in life.
Absolutely.
But basically it says, you know, when your significant other's love tank is full, they feel secure, you know, the whole world looks bright, and, you know, they reach their highest potential, and when it's empty, it looks dark, and that goes for us too. You know, like during, you know, certain dark times, or when you're at war with your spouse or divorces or whatever, it's dark and cold.
Lonely.
So this is really about, you know, what are the ways to make sure that that doesn't happen, or if you do get into a relationship, or if you're already in one, how can you make it better?
Okay.
So the first one, if you recall, was words of affirmation.
Yes.
You remember that? And I want you to be thinking about this, because I'm going to hit you up and I'm going to ask you, we're going to figure out yours today, because at the end of this, it teaches you how to figure out what yours is, because it's confusing, because they all sound good.
Can't we just choose someone from the audience?
Yeah. Who do we want to pick on today? Probably could. So basically, you know, I said this before, but Mark Twain, you know, I can live for 2 months on a good compliment. That's kind of like one of the quotes that he said.
I wonder why that resonates with you.
I don't know, right? But, you know, that's maybe that's me. I'm words of affirmation. But, you know, it's like things like, thanks for getting the babysitter lined up tonight. You know, I want you to know I don't take you for granted. You know, or thank you for what you do, or I see you doing the laundry and I appreciate you for that. And don't think that it goes unnoticed. I really appreciate you. You know, the question is, how much does that mean to you? You know, how important is that compared to the other pieces? Now, I think it's, you know, important, but for some people, it's going to be different on each one of them. One of the other things it talks about in this section, I'm just still revisiting where we're at, is the past, and, you know, moving on from the past. And, you know, we can't erase the past, but we can confess that there were problems and agree that it was wrong and try to move forward. Yeah. You know, which is kind of what people are talking about. But people continually mess up a new day by continually bringing up the failures of yesterday.
Yes.
Right? Remember all this?
Yes.
So we have to live today free from the failures of yesterday is kind of what his suggestion is. And one of the other suggestions is, you know, so by words of affirmation, just admitting it and saying, let's move on, and let's careful with the words you say. Affirm your spouse in front of others publicly is a big deal. I know you said Jeremy probably
I don't
hates
know.
that.
I don't know about that, but we'll see. I could be way off. I could be.
One of the exercises was write a list of your significant other's positive traits, you know. And then the other one was quality time, which is, you know, they just want to be with you. They want to spend time with you. They want great conversation with you. They're less concerned about words of affirmation as opposed to you being here with me and having great conversations. So quality time was number 2. And, you know, again, they may be really mad at your job, or, you know, I hate your job, or I hate what you do, or why are you in real estate? But what it really comes down to is that job is conflicting with their desire for quality time.
Yes.
And so they don't hate your job. They hate the fact that that job gives you less quality time. It's really about focused attention. That's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
you want focused attention. I don't know what yours is. We're gonna figure yours out today.
Okay.
Learning to listen is as difficult as a foreign language, right? And that's this quality time thing. But it's just we have to learn to communicate and listen mostly to. If our person is quality time, they just a lot of times just want you to listen. So I'm gonna go over this one thing. Number one, if you're in quality time and you're with somebody who's like that, number one, maintain eye contact. Number two, listen and don't do something else at the same time.
Get off your phone.
Right. Number three, I thought this was important. Listen for their feelings more than what they're saying. Like, are they angry? Are they hurt? Are they sad? Are they happy? So that you can kind of relate with that piece. Observe their body language, and you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
And refuse to interrupt, which is really hard. Refuse to interrupt. So it's just kind of like learning to talk. And if you recall, there's two types of people. There was the Dead Sea versus the babbling brook.
Oh, right.
And it was the Dead Sea is the great listener who doesn't talk much. And then there's the babbling brook, who is somebody that likes to talk and talk and talk. And I'm a babbling brook. You're a babbling brook. But are you with the Dead Sea?
I was, but since
What about out in public?
I'm an open book here. I swear, but things may go back to normal. Since Jeremy had COVID, he was in the hospital, he was in ICU, all of that stuff. Recently. And it was just luck.
He has a new lease on life.
He does. And he is now a babbling brook.
Ah.
So we have two babbling brooks.
Oh boy.
But we'll see if it holds on.
Right. But it is interesting that a Dead Sea is generally attracted to a babbling brook.
It's true.
And the opposite.
Because we fill their void.
Right. And
The
a babbling
quiet.
brook gets a conversation started, and the Dead Sea appreciates that, and the babbling brook likes a good listener. So anyways, so that's kind of quality time. I'm just basically touching on it because we already went over it last time. So here's number three. Here's where we're getting into the new stuff.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number three is receiving gifts. Okay? And I thought, like, oh my God, what kind of a person just wants to be showered with gifts? And like, oh my God, I thought like I was offended by the fact of like, oh, who wants to be with somebody who just wants to receive gifts? But then it talked a little bit about some examples. And what's really cool about this book, guys, if you get the chance to read it, is they're a marriage counselor. This guy, Gary Chapman, is a marriage counselor. So he brings in so many stories from like patients that have come in and they were here and now they're there and they came in and this was their problem and all that sort of stuff. So he hears the stories like from everybody, which is really fun. That's what I was just totally sucked into. But he talked about when he was trying to explain receiving gifts is there was these friends, right? They had been friends for like a year and this guy was trying to get her to go out with him.
Okay.
And she just wouldn't go, right? Because they were friends in friend zone.
Right.
And finally, she agreed to go out with him, as a friend,
Right.
to a minor league baseball game in Indianapolis.
Okay.
So they go out to the game, and they're sitting on the grassy hill, at the minor league game, and boom, somebody smacks a home run. He runs over and he catches the ball in the stands. Right. So he's got the ball, and it's really fun, exciting, and all that sort of stuff. And then 2 days later, all of a sudden, she gets a present from him left on her porch. So she goes out and she opens the present, and the present is the baseball inside of a glass case with a copy of the ticket sticking up and a little note that said, catching this home run was the second greatest thing that happened to me that day.
See, I'd be all in. I'd be all in. All in.
And so, and here's the best part. 15 years later, they're married now, and they have kids now. 15 years later, it still sits on her dresser. So really, receiving gifts is more than just like, go buy me a ring or buy me a Versace, or whatever. So, and that's where I started feeling bad because I was judging the receiving gifts people. But they say that it's a reminder of love to, give this, and it has to be something in general. And he's gonna switch a little bit, but this portion is, you can hold in your hand and realize he was thinking of me.
Yes.
Or she was thinking of me. So it's just visual symbols of love, and those things are more important to some people than others. So, and I was thinking about it when I was reading it, and when your kid brings you something that they colored home from kindergarten that's like 5 years old, do you ever throw those away?
Oh, it's now that they're 33, 30.
You threw away their stuff they made in kindergarten?
No, they each have like one from each grade-ish.
My mother did.
She threw it away right there on the spot?
Yep.
Well,
this is great, Adam.
That's why I'm such a cold fish.
A cold fish.
My mother's fault.
Well, let's talk about what cup you weren't fulfilling on her part.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna move on to that right
Come on, Freud. Fill me in.
By the way, and
Poor Adam.
I know. Hey, don't feel sorry. He's just looking for attention. Okay, Michelle, don't buy into it. But it did talk about a wedding ring,
Okay.
and I thought this was significant
Okay.
because even when they're doing the whole thing at the wedding, they're talking about, this is our bond to this and that and blah 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 blah, and the guy wants to get her something really nice because and then it talked about people like when I got married, I never wore my wedding ring. Because I'm not a receiving gifts type of person. But somebody who that's important to, like that ring is everything to them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. So there are many more thoughts going through my head, but proceed on.
Yeah. No, that was basically it, is that a wedding ring is a reminder of a gift that they were thinking of me, and that's basically where it's at. I never wore the ring because I rode dirt bikes, I did all that stuff. It just wasn't important to me at that time. Oh, you look like you're going to judge me based on that.
I'm judging you hard.
Hard judge.
Hey, Michael, turn off Adam's mic. I don't know what. Well, stop yelling.
I'm a bullhorn, baby.
He took vitamin B12 today, so he's like.
Fire.
Well, but the gift can be purchased, found, or made, and they don't
Yes.
have to be expensive.
No.
Because a lot of people out there are struggling. You're not going to get all the things that maybe you want, but it's not about that.
No, not at all.
Gifts need not to be expensive, but homemade. A homemade card is
thought.
great. And they do say, and this is the cool part, you ready? If your significant other is all about receiving gifts, they say it's the easiest love language to learn. The easiest. And there was another couple that came in, and it was about like the husband being a spender versus a saver. So generally, this was in this particular situation. So basically, he did not want to spend any money on flowers. They just die, you know, and this card you're just going to throw away, and and then they ended up having to go into counseling and stuff because he just wouldn't spend any money or do anything. But what he says, what Chapman says in this book, is like the best investment you can make is buying something or giving something to your spouse if they are, or significant other, if they are if they're into gifts, receiving gifts, if that's their thing. So, and it talked about, this one guy that, it kind of like the gift of being there is another thing, but this guy had a baby, and his wife had the baby, and within 10 minutes he left to go to a softball game. And then she's 15 years later, she's at the counseling session bringing that up. And then he goes to his mom's funeral, leaves his mom's funeral and goes straight to a softball game. She continually brings that up. And later on we come to find that, basically he was going to the softball game because he was so proud to tell the team and all that sort of stuff, which, and then for his mom, what he was saying in the counseling session is that like, I was with her every day for the full week before, and it was kind of a coping thing, you know what I mean? So, but physical presence can be a gift, and you have to tell them. So another thing that they say is a great gift about receiving gifts is giving up a day of work. Shows that that you, Jenny, are more important than my job. And that's a big one too.
It is.
So anyways.
Wow.
So that's a couple of things. But
I see why
I have
you're
a
late
question.
today, by the way. I see why this, tilted you so much.
Well, and we're just getting warmed up.
We're just getting warmed up. I can feel it.
It gets really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like I said, and I want to just tell you about this, and I know, Monday Motivation, but this book will really have you take a look at your relationships.
And it's on Amazon, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it's one of the, all-time, biggest love-selling books ever, but it really will give you an introspection into your life. And almost every relationship, you could go back to high school and still pick these things apart based on this stuff.
Does it kind of tell you how to figure out what your significant other or child or friends are?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it does. And,
Okay.
and that's where, but most importantly, it helps you to figure out what you are. And then there's exercises in here, like, so for example, if, you're like, oh, well, Jeremy's all about this. And you're probably right, you guys have a fantastic relationship, but you can ask these qualifying questions that can verify that.
Yeah, because you could be totally wrong.
Which I think everybody should do. So when
I
we
do
get
too.
when we get to the end of this, and
That's cool, okay.
and you want to look at your significant other, and you want to figure out and make sure that you're filling their cup and doing things right, you can do it. So there was another guy, another couple that came in, and I'm really preaching today. I'm sorry. Feel free to stop me, okay?
Okay.
It's called The Chicago Story, and this guy's name was Doug, and her name was Ann. And they were living a very routine life. Like they would come home from work, they would do this, they would do that, they would eat, da-da-da-da-da, and she was feeling extremely unloved. Like she just was in this routine of this guy that was just doing his thing. And then they went to one of his seminars. And he, like, as they were going through these things, he figured out that his wife was a gift receiver. And so they come back from it, and they actually flew out to meet him because this seminar changed their marriage.
Wow.
And so he went out there, and they were sitting down having lunch with him because they were a great couple getting along amazingly. And he said, this is so nice to see such a healthy couple. Well, they went to seminar, and on Monday when they got home from the seminar, he brought her a rose. That was it. Just one rose that he got off a street vendor downtown. And then she was like, oh my God, this is so nice, right? And then on Tuesday, he called and said, don't worry about dinner tonight. I'm bringing home pizza from your favorite place. And then on Wednesday, he came home and brought the kids Cracker Jacks. And he brought a very small planted pot for her, a little plant, in a pot. And he said, the rose will die, but this one will live forever, so I wanted to give you this.
Aww.
Well done, sir.
Right?
Well done.
And then on Thursday, continued it on Friday, and all that sort of stuff. So it kind of continued, but basically they were sitting down, and he said, by the way, I'm taking you to dinner on a Saturday night. Because, he wanted this to work, and it's important to catch it and fix it before it's too late. So on Saturday at dinner, she was asking, like, why are you being so nice to me? And he said that he had realized at that seminar that he had not given her a gift for years. And he said, and back when we were dating, I used to bring you flowers. I used to write you cards. I used to do all these things. And he said, and I got cheap. And he said, and I realized that we probably couldn't afford things. And he said, so my commitment to you and making this marriage work is you may not get something every day, but you're getting something from me at least once a week.
Aww.
So he fixed that when he figured out what she was all about.
Right. Okay.
So anyways, I don't know.
Okay.
Any comments on that? Any thoughts? I mean, you like that?
I do. I just keep wondering what everyone's feeling and thinking out there, because this is some deep stuff. This is kind of, I'm like, and nobody has their cameras on, and I'm like, are they listening? Do they care?
They're all crying.
Are they all crying? Oh, there we go. Okay, Isabel loves it. Okay.
Good. All right, so, and we don't have any cameras on today, too. Nobody wants to talk about this. They're like, no thanks, we're good.
I haven't gotten a gift in years.
I know. So should I just keep rolling?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm all in.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, any little words of affirmation right now to make sure that I'm not way off base on a
I
Monday
know.
motivation? We appreciate. You're reading the book. I love it, Katie. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so one of the other things that it suggested is if you really want to make a big impact on a receiving gifts person, one of their 5 love languages, is it says, you know how there's the 12 days of Christmas?
Yes.
It says, instead of that, do that for their birthday. If their birthday is coming up, get them a little teeny tiny something every single day for 12 days. If your wedding anniversary is coming up, give them a little teeny tiny gift every day for 12 days around their wedding anniversary. And he talks about how simple it can be. It can be a gift in nature. I found this feather and it made me think of you. Or it could be, like this one guy that he talked to who had lost an arm, when he was over in the Dominican Republic. He really liked him, liked this guy, and the guy gave him a stick. And he said, and it was like a really beautiful stick, like from the ocean. And he says, this reminds me, I wanted you to have a piece of the Dominican to take home so it's with you forever, and he goes, so that was his love language because he knew how much that would mean to him.
Yeah.
It also suggested that keep in your notes, if Jeremy were to say like, man, I sure like that guy's Rams hat, snap a picture of it, put it in your notes. Like figure out what Nance likes and make sure that you're listening and create something so that you can get them gifts over time. So.
Well, like that happened yesterday. He goes, oh, I really like that coffee mug. I said, well, I'll go get it right now. He's like, no. Just remember for my birthday, because he doesn't, I'm the spender. So yes, I did that yesterday.
I love it.
See, I don't like this because it means I have to listen to Nance. He talks too much.
Bubba.
Let me bring you this book. I'll be right back.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Okay, so here's some words of affirmation for you guys. Thank you very much for doing these Monday morning motivations. You're very inspiring, and you always show up on Monday looking amazing
He's
with your
very handsome.
suit and your shirt. And Jenny looks so beautiful this morning. And you guys always start off our week very inspiring, and you motivate us. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
So appreciated. In that case, we'll continue doing it.
Yes.
Hey, and by the way, if anyone else would like to continue on what Michelle said, you're more than welcome.
You're more than welcome. Affirmations.
And we do accept gifts as well. That's my love language. So.
No, okay, yeah. Adam loves money gifts, okay? That's what he's really trying to say. All right. So thank you for
And
that.
good
Michelle.
job to Adam for showing up too. Sorry, Adam, I forgot you. And Michael Wesaki, of course, too.
Thank you, Michelle. You're a
You guys
sweetheart.
are showing up for us on Mondays.
All right.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So now we're going to move on to the next love language,
Okay.
acts of service.
Yes.
Now, again, you think you hear it and you think you know it, but it's really, it's a little bit more than what we think.
Okay.
And it talks about things like laundry, dinner, paying bills,
Doing the
vacuuming,
dishes.
you know, and for some men and some women, they appreciate the significant other doing that beyond belief. And, you know, it doesn't have to take in a lot of time. And it talked about this one couple, and he was talking about why he loved her in like significant moments in their marriage. And he said one of the biggest things was for me when I was driving down the street and I realized that she had pulled in the trash barrels. And he goes, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that was huge to me. It's the little things. So for him, those trash barrels being pulled in was an act of service. I think that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So that was just kind of a, you know, a general idea of what the acts of service is about. And then they had another couple. And the couple came in and were talking to him. And the guy said, you know, or the girl said, you know, is there any way that we can survive when we disagree on abso-fucking-lutely everything? Is there a way that we can even survive and get back and make this happen? And and he said to her, well, okay, well, give me some examples. And he says, well, you know, every Saturday he goes hunting. Every single Saturday he goes hunting. She goes, and, you know, he fights me about going to church on Sunday nights. You know, and back in the day, you know, and you know, so then he has to say, well, you know, hunting is what I like to do every day, and I hate going to church both in the morning and the night on Sundays, and blah, 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 blah. And so you could see that there was a little bit of problems there. And it came down to, as they really started talking, the Chapman asked her, he says, well, what's the difference between who he is now and who he was when you were dating? And she said, well, the guy I fell in love with used to work with me every day on projects. You know, in high school, he helped me build my senior float. She said he helped me with my school. He helped me with my papers. He was always there. And now he just ignores me. He doesn't help around the house. He doesn't do anything. He goes hunting. He's gone. You know, he's out of here. You know, and he's just checked out and does nothing for me. And then they asked him, he got to defend himself, right, a little bit. And he said, well, you know, he goes, I do like to go hunting, and it's the thing I do, and I work my ass off all week, and I don't want to go to church twice on Sundays, and, you know, and blah, 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 blah. But what it all came down to is he, by starting to ignore her and not helping her with anything around the house and not helping with cooks or dishes or anything at all, they figured out very quickly that he had never seen a relationship where the father was involved, because his dad, who he was mimicking, was one of those, I need supper on the table, I need this, you do the dishes, where's my laundry, when I come home I have the house clean, you know, and so all that sort of stuff. So he really was not used to a life where there was sharing of responsibilities, which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's what you watched at home, which is what really jacked him up. And the problem was when he comes home and says, you know, I come home and the house is a mess and this and that, and he's yelling at her, love cannot be demanded. And so by demanding to receive gifts is not the same. No. You know what I mean? So you have to realize that. And so it kind of suggests, and then so what they did in the exercise that made them get along great 15 years later, they're doing fantastic, is make a list of 4 things you want your significant other person to do. So for example, you know, he said, well, what can it be? And this guy was a real man's man in a sense. Like, he was like, well, or she was like, well, I want you to wash the car instead of me, because he had her washing the car.
What?
Right? And I want you to vacuum once a week. And so, and all this sort of stuff. And then she said, well, and she wanted him to change a diaper on one of the kids when he got home. That's the only one he wanted to do when he got home. And then on the other side, he made a list for her. When I come home, I would like the house to be clean and everything to be picked up. No, but she didn't work. She didn't work out.
Okay,
That was their deal.
That's my only question. Hey, that's her job is.
That was their deal.
Totally get it.
So
get it.
But they listed out, and he agreed to the vacuuming and washing the cars and all those things, and she agreed to her for. And still to this day, they're doing them.
Yeah,
And
I like it.
Changed their whole relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for
she
her,
didn't work.
she needed
was
to
a
see
stay-
those acts of service.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't work outside the home.
I guess those are healthy boundaries. One thing I
Yes.
hear a lot when we went and saw someone is she would always say, "You guys have resentments because you are setting expectations." And so now, whenever we're mad at each other, we go like, "Do I have an expectation here that I've set? Is this a me problem or an us problem?" Right?
The me problem has resonated with me so much.
Oh, really?
Is this a me problem or is this like,
Yeah.
no, I'm the only one who has an issue with the chair being out.
Yes.
He doesn't care if the chair is out. You know, he cares about other things.
Yeah.
You know,
That's funny, huh?
yeah.
But if they set healthy boundaries, I can respect it.
Yeah, I love it. Dig it.
So that was his suggestion for something like that. But the big message here is, and I think this is what everybody needs to remember.
Okay.
There's a difference between what you did before you got married and then after you got married. And that's what the beginning, if you recall, I know it was a month ago, but the book was about generally you get into a relationship, you're in this honeymoon phase, you get married at the top of your in-love state, and then soon after that, you settle into life.
Yes.
And then once you settle into life and all the butterflies and all those things are gone, that's when you have to make a decision to start putting in the work or not put in the work. And that's why they're talking about, but who did you become, but who did you fall in love with? You fell in love with the one that filled your love language. And now you settle in and don't do that anymore. So, and then it was talking about, well, how can I figure out what my love language is? And it says, you know, the spouse's criticism is the clearest clue to their primary love language. So if I'm yelling at you about something, that means that you need to realize when I'm yelling at you about something, that's what's important to me. That's my love language.
First of all, you should never yell at me. If you're yelling at me,
Well,
we have
you
a
know-
big problem.
I know. I'm not saying yelling, but if you're arguing or whatever it might
Yes.
be, or like
Bickering.
I'll bet you they yell.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it's generally nagging, but
Oh, I
once
should
in a
say
while there's yelling.
We call it bickering.
Bickering. Okay.
Bickering.
So you know, but
That's mind blowing.
so for example, the fact that your chair is out and it drives you insane. Like you said, he pulls the chair out and leaves it out and drives you insane, right?
Yes. But he's taller than me. He's like a foot taller almost, and so to him it's not out.
Okay.
To him it is so he can just slide in to sit. To me,
How many times have you brought the chair up to him?
never the chair. I've only brought up the bench.
But you sit and you look at it every time you walk by.
sounds like a you problem.
It's a me problem.
But
That's
it's your love
100%.
language. And by asking him to do that, it's because
I've never asked him to do the chair, ever.
what bothers you is by
Well, also because he
Change
makes
your-
a good point.
It could change your whole relationship.
He makes a good point though. He likes it so he's tall, so it's not sticking out to him. It flows. I know. We're a
chair.
mess. We're a joke. We're worried about a freaking chair.
All right. Well, you know, okay, but that's okay. All right. So here's some suggestions for acts of service.
Okay.
Ask your spouse to make or significant other or whatever to make a list of 10 things he or she would like you to do during the next month.
Okay.
I know it's strange, right? But
10's a lot, huh?
10 is a lot. 10 is a lot, but that's the exercise. But again, I mean, basically reading this book and going through these exercises is like sitting with a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
It really is, because I mean, I've gotten so much out of this. It's been insane. So anyways, that was just one of the thoughts, and then share them with each other.
I like it.
And then you'll be able to find out a little bit more about what their wants and needs are.
Yeah.
You're going to get 10 too, Adam.
I know
We're gonna do this, guys.
that's
We're
the thing
gonna
that
do this.
stresses me out is like I could easily make 10 things I want him to do, but like.
But Nathan is he's an acts of service guy. That's probably why you do the laundry, you do the cooking, you do all that stuff, because that's how you show your affection, right?
Well, yeah, it's how I show I love him.
Yeah, and how does he do it?
Well, that's when we first started dating. He was an acts of service guy too. He would always bring me a coffee in the morning, and you know. And he does that now still. So you know.
Well, then why do you complain all about him all the time?
Well, because you know, I got to complain about something.
All right. So the last one is physical touch. I mean, it talks about like health and all that sort of stuff, that babies being held and stroked and kissed are healthier than ones that are kind of ignored, like orphans and things like that. Like it has a dramatic effect on you. And for adults, it's the same thing. Holding hands, kissing, embracing, sexual intercourse, all that sort of stuff is all about feeling good and being healthier when those sorts of things are happening. And physical touch can make or break a relationship. And to some people it says, I hate you or I love you. And some spouses, though, find touch uncomfortable or irritating. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Like some people do not like to be touched. And if you're one of those people, and there's people that don't like to be hugged. There's you know who I'm talking about. There's people like that.
Totally.
And so if you don't like to be hugged, if you don't like people touching you, the OCD people, and there are people like that out there. Like, oh no, thank you. I don't shake hands.
Yeah.
But the bottom line in all that is, what if you're that person, or you find out you're that person, and you're married to somebody that is a physical touch person? You don't know how to show that because you hate it. So working through that is like super problematic. Super problematic. So that being the case, you have to realize that in the other person and kind of like force yourself to do it.
Do you wonder if, because like someone who doesn't like physical touch, because sometimes I can't, and well, like when Jeremy was sick, like someone said, "Oh, I just want to come give you a hug or something." I said, "If you hugged me right now, I would probably just break down. I couldn't even function." And I'm wondering if that has something like to do it, like if you show any vulnerability, or something. I don't know. I'm wondering if that, or if they just like, "Ooh, this is my space. I need my space." Something happened to them that got into their space.
Maybe it's a trigger.
It's
you
a
were
trigger.
scared it would be an emotional trigger to get you to think about things that you didn't want to think about.
Yeah, I think that's me almost every day.
Really?
Always. I've been thinking a lot. We've been doing a lot of thinking at the Casa de Waters.
Have you?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I like
a lot
it.
of ruminating on life since
Yes.
COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's interesting.
I know. I want to hear people's thoughts
Same
about
here,
it.
actually, too. After COVID, it does open your eyes.
Oh yeah, and Adam wanted a hug. This is what.
I
Adam,
think it was me you were talking
Adam
about,
wanted a hug when he came in, and I'm like, "Hey ho ho, hey ho."
I missed Jenny so much. I wanted a hug, and she was like, "No," and I'm like,
And it broke his little
I watched that whole
spirit.
thing. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. But I'm sorry.
But then
Gosh,
we
you're
hugged
so
on
mean.
Tuesday.
I'm kidding. Okay. So, but when it does come to people with physical touch, it says that like if you know your significant other is a physical touch person, come up with ways and places to touch them, in like just a different way. And it just talked about walking by and patting them, or rubbing them as you walk through the room, or any little opportunity that you can. And I think
Okay.
it's like putting your hand on their leg when they're driving, or I mean, because I think I'm a physical touch guy, so like any little thing like that is a big deal. Like if you're sitting on the
Yeah.
couch and you rub their leg,
Right.
I mean, any little thing at all, and it's not just talking about sex.
So
or whatever.
that being said, you are a physical toucher. So it's just who you are. It's not you're putting moves on anybody. It's not that you're trying to do anything. You're literally just, hey, buddy, hey, it's not being. And so people who aren't physical touchers could be like, oh, wait, oh. You're like, no, ooh,
Yeah.
no, I'm your buddy.
Yeah,
Type
and you
of
got to
thing.
figure that out. I
Because
mean,
it happens to me too.
you probably
You're
have
right.
friends that you can hug and friends you can't.
Yes.
I think we all do. You know what I mean? And
Adam gets very touchy.
Adam does?
He gets very handsy. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't. But no, there's people. You're right. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I gave Michael a hug this morning, and he got mad at me.
Yeah, well, you got to let him go after a while.
Okay.
I don't think Michael's a hugger.
Michael, you a hugger?
Not without him.
No, but I don't think unless we're.
Particularly, no.
Nance
No.
is a physical touch person, though.
All right, so in the next section, I think you're going to love this. Hugging in a time of crisis. Remember what you just said?
Yes, that's. So I'm always.
This
a step
says
ahead.
that
Okay.
there is nothing, to a physical touch person, there is nothing more important or powerful than holding a woman while she cries. Now could be a man too, but I'm just saying that's what
Right,
the book said.
holding
Nothing
someone.
more important than holding a woman when she cries, which I thought was interesting. So, anyways. All right, so here's where I started getting anxiety as the book moved on a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I
it's
literally was
good.
getting anxiety sitting in my chair.
Okay.
Can't wait.
I know. I'm on
So,
bated breath.
so basically, it's a story about this really great couple. They were just a great couple. And Dr. Chapman was asking them, how did you become what you were? And he says, well, we started out with major problems, like major problems. Like we first got married, we moved to Florida. He was working late. He believed that she didn't love her anymore, or she believed that he wasn't as into her anymore because he was working and trying to bring about his career and doing everything he could. And so she started hanging out with friends who she made other wives and things like that, going shopping, staying out late, to the point where he started getting home. And when he would get home, she wasn't there because she was out with her friends or doing whatever, or out shopping or doing something. And so later on, as they started discussing their problems and went to counseling, they kind of found out that she needed more quality time. And what he was missing by her not being there is that he needed physical touch. So when you've got somebody that needs quality time, but they're busy and out working, so she's retreating and he needs physical touch and there's nobody there, I started realizing that somebody that needs quality time and somebody who needs physical touch, if you are not melded and understand this, it's like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is when she would get upset because he was working late or doing this or ignoring her or whatever, she would go weeks and weeks without touching him because she was mad at him and I don't want to have anything to do with you and this and that. And it just talks about how painful is it to not be touched if you are a physical touch person, or how painful is it, you know, if you're not spending any time with somebody that's all about quality time. It's like you're torturing and beating each other up. And then he took them, and then they went back, talked about dating. And back when they were dating, it wasn't an issue. So, so for her, when they go shopping and do stuff like that now, she holds his hand, like just little things like that. And you have to find ways of non-sexual touching, right? Because every massage turns into something, or whatever,
Yeah.
So, and tell them you love them and give them a hug and stuff like that for the person that needs quality time and physical touch. But those things go a long way, and for him and for people that are physical touch, being affectionate when people are around is a big deal. They love that. Like if she were to come up and rub her hand up the back of his head or do anything at all, he loves it, for him. And then it got into a little section that is near and dear to me, but I thought I would explain is deployment. So if you are a physical touch person, let's just say you're a physical touch woman, or quality time, and your significant other goes away on deployment, like Ryan is, for 9 months. I think they say that there's like a statistic out there of what happens when the significant other is away, that it's like 90%.
Oh, wow.
Or something along those lines. But there are ways to try to help that physical touch person on deployment, for example.
Okay.
And there's just 3 ways they suggested.
Okay.
Number 1, a handwritten letters, because it's tangible and you can touch it and you can see, not an email, not a text, a handwritten letter. Number 2 was for you to wear one of their shirts.
Yeah.
Or their clothes. And then number 3 was to send a photo of yourself, doing something, whatever it may be. So those are kind of ways to overcome deployment, but you can see why there's so many problems if you're a physical touch or quality time person when you go away.
Ugh.
So
So hard, and we have so many people going through that, or their kids, or like you. That's a lot.
So, all right, so now it's going to get weird. Ready?
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions or or any
Anybody want
comments
to share
at all?
anything?
Are you, and do you guys want me to keep going with this stuff? Because we're going to finish this book, and the next one's going to be like Think and Grow Rich. But I just thought we should insert something different. But does anybody have any?
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, please.
Hey, first of all, I have to commend you because I know a lot of this touchy-feely stuff sometimes makes you uncomfortable.
He loves it. Don't
I've
say
sat
it
with
makes
you
him
many
uncomfortable. He
times.
loves it.
I've sat with you many times after golf or wherever, and the minute it gets a little too real, you start getting really fidgety. So I'm so proud of you for sticking with this.
That's true.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, dude.
And I love this topic. I had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Chapman speak in person twice. And this is great stuff because this comes down to the foundation of who we are as people. And we perform better with our clients, with prospective clients, when we are in tune with ourselves and when we're stable in our home life. So this is fantastic. Don't let the lack of input discourage you from this topic. I think everybody's just a little bit reserved because we start getting a little bit worried about being too vulnerable with feedback.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Well, you want to talk about uncomfortable? This next section makes me extremely uncomfortable.
Oh God. Oh, so he waits for me to be back.
Yeah, I can already. I might bring Michael in on this one, but because he'd probably be the only person to be more uncomfortable than me to talk about this stuff.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. So the next section is discovering your love language.
Okay.
And like you think you know it, but when you listen to them,
I don't know.
When you listen to them, let's just talk about them: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Like you kind of need a little bit of all of those. And it's so funny because I was thinking this morning, I asked, am I high maintenance? Relationship high maintenance.
Oh, I think
And
you're
she said,
extremely.
very.
Yeah, extremely.
And I started thinking and I figured this out. maybe if you have more than one love language, you're high maintenance. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm just simple, I mean, there's guys out there that are just probably 100 times easier than me. You just, hey, buy me a friggin' McDonald's on the way home and I'm happy. You know, I mean, lots of guys like that. For me, I think I need a little bit of everything, which is hard. So it's hard to figure out what your love language is for some, but they give you some exercises to do.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna do. First off, whenever they ask a man what his love language is, they always say the same thing. What's a man's love language? They always give the same answer.
Yeah.
know where this is
The big.
Physical touch.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought
forgot
you were
the
going to go
proper-
the Jeff Foxworthy route. He's like, give me a beer and show me something naked.
In a sense. So
Yes, okay.
So but a
Okay.
man's desire he says almost every single person that comes into his therapy sessions, the man says I'm physical touch because they just want sex. A man's desire for sex does not mean his love language is physical touch. And it gives a story. I'm just saying what the book said, not what I said.
No.
The man's seminal vesicles get full. Right, Jenny?
Okay.
Right? The man's seminal
Okay,
vesicles get full.
okay,
And
okay,
therefore,
okay.
when that happens, they need, well, I'm telling what the book said,
No,
not me.
no, it's
a release.
science.
They
It's
need
science.
They need a release.
Yes, it's science.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they think that physical touch is always going to lead to that. So therefore, nature is forcing them to constantly be on you.
Okay.
Literally. I'm just
Literally.
kidding. But you know what I mean. And so they say that, but a man is not about physical touch. And then the woman's sex drive is definitely not tied to her seminal vesicles.
No.
A woman's sex drive is tied to her emotional need for love, according to the book. And so knowing her 5 love languages, guys, and filling that cup, gentlemen, will help you take care of your situation. You know what I mean? So,
totally.
So, but it's hard because a man is driven by nature and by this and that, and the woman is driven by need for emotional love and filling my, love languages. So that's really what it's suggesting in here.
No,
you know?
it's so true. Yes.
And it says, most sexual problems in a relationship have little to do with physical technique or attractiveness or anything like that. It's that someone is not getting their emotional needs filled.
It is true.
It's outside the bedroom.
Yes, and especially for the woman, because we're just wired different. Like Margaret always used to say, it's just so sad and such a sad trick that God played on us how different we are.
Yeah,
In that department.
totally.
So understanding that and understanding that we have to figure out, the words of affirmation, the quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch, you have to try to nail that down with the other. Now, the physical touch part does not mean that that's what you're about just because sex is linked to it, because it's not
Right.
for a man too. So the question is, I would ask you this, everybody on the call, what do you most desire from your spouse? Ask yourself that question. What do you want the most from that significant other? Or even if you look back in your relationships, what did you want the most that you didn't get? And when they do what, do you feel loved above all else?
You guys should write this down.
So
write down your thing.
what do you desire most from your spouse? And what makes you feel loved above all else? So if you can answer that question, you can figure out your love language. Mike Duffy just said to have Kim be proud of me, right? So that means, and by being proud of you, that means words of affirmation probably and things like that, Mike, right? So
That is so cute, Mike.
right?
That is
Well,
adorable. I love that.
It is. It's great. So I would ask you guys to ask yourself that question as we move on with some of this stuff, because you need to know yours, and then you need to figure out theirs. So the next one is to figure it out. Here's another one, and this one hurts. What does your spouse do or say that hurts you deeply? Oh. How can they tear you up? It's a big one.
It's a big one.
One day Nance came to me and said, "What do you like about me? Because you tell me what you don't like more than you tell me what you like." And I'm like, let me get back to you.
Yeah.
My
No,
business
you did
day.
not. You did not.
I'm sure you dug yourself out of a hole.
Oh God.
But what does your spouse do or say that deeply hurts you? Because, and we were talking about this, and I was thinking, and here's the really brutal part. And there's a section here about manipulation, because people also figure out what their significant other's love language is and use that to stick it to them.
And not in a good way.
Not in a good way. So, for example, if I am a words of affirmation person, okay, how painful is it going to be for me to get the silent treatment? You know what I mean? And I've been in relationships where I've gone 11 days without talking to you.
I would die.
After a while, you just get used to it. But I'm just saying, like the point being, for somebody, that's torturous. Okay?
Oh.
On the other side of it, if you know that person is somebody that is an acts of service person, you know what? Why don't you make your own breakfast and your own lunch? You want dinner? Go get it yourself. Okay? Little things like that for somebody that's an acts of service person, you know what they like, and you're friggin' jabbing them.
Owie.
Did you really say 11 days?
Yeah.
You are a stone cold gangster.
So, well, I mean,
No,
this
it
is
wasn't him. It was.
way back in the day.
Okay.
No, it wasn't me. But
Yeah, no,
okay.
I'm perfect, you know.
Oh,
So,
of course.
so if you are a quality time person, and if let's say you're a quality time person, and I'm with you, Jenny, and I come home and I have my dinner and I do my thing and I work a little bit and then I flip on the TV and I watch my Netflix shows and I do this and I do that and then I go to bed early. That's like the ultimate stick to somebody who's all about quality time. Do you know what I mean? So really, it's dangerous when you do figure that out. You know, and Michelle just said, my husband in heaven now always did something nice for me every day. He called it the honoring system. He would say, I honored you today by blank. The more he did for me to honor me, the more I wanted to honor him.
Absolutely. That's
So,
beautiful, Michelle.
It is. That means that it was, you guys figured it out. You know what I mean? So it's just, and then, you know, I mean, what would be the other ones? So physical touch, just don't touch him.
Yeah.
Ever. Ignore
Yeah.
him. You know, so those sorts of things can be used as extremely painful tools. You know, so it's like we may act like we don't know the love languages, but when we want to stick it to them,
I think we
sure
all
know
already
how.
do.
And boy, let me tell you, when they always say that nobody can piss you off like your spouse or kids, it's because they know how to do it.
Yeah.
I'll bet you could take Nance through the roof in 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
You could take Nathan and just within 30 seconds have him wanting to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
We all have that gift.
It's interesting that Dale Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you'd think he'd be like a master with everyone at it. He could not master it with one of his spouses. And it's like, it's kind of goes back to like, you hurt the ones you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
Interesting.
So, if you want, there's more discovery here. So, if you want to know what your, you know, which are he suggests 3 questions, and
Okay.
we kind of covered them already. But number 1, how could your spouse hurt you the most? We talked about that.
Okay.
You know, silent treatment or this or that or whatever. Number 2, what have you requested as a change from your spouse the most? So, for example, like, it'd be really great if you, what?
Does anybody else have a really hard time? Like, I have to really think about this. Like, I have to really go deep and like, oh my God, because
You see why I was so sucked in?
yeah, because you're like, wait, I don't know. Wait, am I that surface? I'm such a surface chick.
What have you requested from the spouse the most? And I think, and again, it's why relationships fail. If you are quality time and you're being ignored, it's rough. But the one thing I'll say about guys, can I defend guys for a minute, Adam?
Of course.
Go for it.
Just for a minute.
Okay.
Just for a minute. Just
Is it gonna
one
make
time.
me? Is it gonna make Michael and I awkward?
You guys are probably not gonna like this, but I gotta defend men for 1 minute.
Okay. He goes
Listen,
all.
you guys think we know. You're pissed off. You're mad. He should know.
Oh.
He knows why I'm mad. He should know. We don't fucking know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Tell me what I did, and I will
Yeah.
fix it. But when you're just mad, and we're going on through our day,
Yeah.
you're just getting more and more pissed.
You're right.
And it's not fair because we don't even know what you're mad about.
That's true.
Or why you're mad, because we're dumb.
How do you not know? How do you not freaking know? You did it.
You know what I mean, though?
Okay.
So that's my only advice is please tell us.
Just communicate. That's all it is.
Okay.
You
Anyway,
know.
sorry, I got off track. All right. So what have you requested from your spouse the most? Number 3, how do you express love to your spouse? If you really wanted to make sure that she or he was happy, how would you do that? If I wanted to go home and make her as happy as I possibly could, what things would I do? Most likely the things that you would do are things that fill your cup. Do you know what I'm saying? If you wanted to make Jeremy really happy, well, keep that to yourself. No, but what would you do? If you wanted to go home today and just kill it with him, what would you do?
Have a nice dinner, be home before him, well before him, so I'm not a scattered stress ball.
Quality time.
He's quality time 100 million. So maybe I am too. I'm acts of service though. I think both just.
You like when he does things for you?
Oh, well, because then he knows his, yes. Like like how you said, if I'm overwhelmed and stressed, I can't do anything else. I have got to get the dishes done. I've got to get the laundry done. I've got to go get the store, And so if he helps in that area, then I can help in other areas, if you will.
Got it.
And maybe he's manipulating me, I don't know. But
I think we all do a little bit.
I think y'all do.
You all, we all.
So everyone does kind of know already what their either significant other, sibling, or child is, because like you said, we do know how to either manipulate in a good way or manipulate in a bad way already.
Right.
Should we be using the word manipulate?
Is there a
Not
kinder
us.
word?
The book says it.
The book, I would.
We're just talking about the book, people.
Yep.
None of these are our own opinions.
No, gosh, no.
Because it is true. Nathan's love language is definitely like words of affirmation. So it's like, babe, you look so handsome today. It's like you got to bring up, you got to.
Yeah. I like it. So you get it then. Yeah. So, and then there's a section called Love is the Choice. And it talks about past failures that have caused you problems. And it gets really brutal in this section. Okay, because it starts talking about past failures. It starts talking about hurtful things that have been said that even to this day you remember were said in relationships. You guys know what I'm talking about? There are things that the significant other has said that I can tell you right now, you'll never shake off. 30 years later, I remember them like they were yesterday. So, and I'm sure they do as well. You know what I mean? So you just have to be very cautious that knowing that you have all this baggage, and this next section goes into, is it too late to fix it? Ooh. When you've got all this baggage and all this bullshit and all these things that were said. And that's when Love is the Choice comes in. And it talks about the in-love experience. And so this lady goes into, and I'm just going to tell you some of this stuff because it's brutal. Okay, so this lady goes in to see him. And she gets there and, she says, well, my husband says that he's not in love with me anymore.
Oh, it hurts.
At all. And no matter what I do, he's never going to be in love with me. He doesn't love me anymore. And she's crying. She said, I invited him to come here. He wouldn't come. He said, because you're the one with the problem, blah, 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 which we hear all the time in counseling, which is bullshit. That's a bullshit answer. And so she's crying. She's a mess. She's a disaster. And he says, all right, well, let me see what I can do. So after all that, she leaves. And then she calls her, the counselor Gary calls her, or him, the husband, and he says, would you be willing to come in? He says, absolutely. So he comes down, and he sits there, he talks him into coming in. And he comes in, and he's well put together, completely the opposite of her, all dialed in, looking sharp, stoic, strong, no crying, nothing. And starts talking, and he says, well, I'm not in love with her. She doesn't fill my cup, and this and that. And he goes, well, within about 2 minutes, I could tell that there was another woman.
Yep.
Right away. He says, I could tell.
That's trifling.
And now when you are talking to a counselor, you are able to say anything because they're supposedly not going to share it or do this or do that or whatever.
And then he writes it in a book.
Yeah, it's like it's like a lawyer. And so he's like, this other girl is filling my cup and this and that, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so, and he's like, okay, but he did agree to go to counseling and stuff, but he talked about how amazing this other woman is.
It was a counseling for other reasons.
Yeah, they'd been seeing her for a month or 2 months. He'd been seeing this other girl or whatever and falling for her and all that stuff. Well, guess what? He calls up about a month later and he says, can I come in? I need to see you. And he comes in and he's totally disheveled. He's a mess, his clothes, he's a disaster. Well, guess what? The other girl dumped him. Okay. So now he was no longer getting his in-love cup filled by this other girl. So he wanted to go back and make it work with his wife.
He doesn't deserve it.
Okay. So she fell out of love with him.
We all make mistakes.
So then he ran back. And went back to her, at which time she was still there and happy to try to work it out because there's failures on both sides when things like that happen.
For sure. It's not just one person.
And basically kind of talked about their love languages and what needs to happen so that doesn't happen again and all that sort of stuff. And 15 years later, they're doing absolutely fantastic and happier than they've ever been. So, but it's just a story of what happens when you're in love cup is or not filled, your
Right.
tank, you know. And guess what? It happens more than not. It's just life. You know, somebody else comes along and Adam, you're so amazing, and oh my God, you look so great, and I love those glasses on you, and you know, and all that sort of stuff. And next thing you know, what they're doing is filling you with words of affirmation that you need that you're not getting at home. It's the truth.
Oh, it's
And
true.
I get very few compliments. So, no, I'm just joking.
Clean yourself up a little.
I know.
I'm kidding. I'm
Take a freaking shower, buddy.
So, you know, but the
That's
problem
so
is
tough.
that people, and here's where it starts to get ugly. People try to do acts of service when all they really want is quality time. We're giving things that aren't what they need. Because, but
Okay.
at least we're trying to give, but it's not enough. And so story after story after story of this book is people trying to show their affection in a way that doesn't work because that doesn't fill your cup. You know what I mean? And so all of these relationship problems are not understanding what's important to that other person and filling that cup. Because it sounds like, I mean, from this book, and I don't know, here's where I'm gonna get weird, but it's not like you really like, the in love, amazing honeymoon is gonna wear off.
Right.
Yes.
And once that happens, relationships are work. And when they are work, you know, you have to put in effort to make it continue if you decide that that's what you want to do. I'm telling you what the book says.
Yes.
So, but just story after story of the failures continue to come. One of the other questions that he had another couple that came in and it said, you know, the husband or the wife came up to the counselor and said, "Can you love someone you hate?" That's
Yes.
what I want to know.
I think yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hate him. He said hurtful things. I don't like him. He's a dickhead, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, can you love someone you hate? Because of all the things he's done in the past and all that stuff. But his suggestion is you absolutely can. If you take the time to find out what makes them tick, what makes them work, and find their love languages. Was the husband honest about his affair? You know what? It didn't touch on that.
I think it would have to be for them to continue forward.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no counselor, but
Yeah.
Oh, to his wife.
I would.
I mean, it didn't say Bianca, but the gist of how I read it was absolutely. You know, because I think lots of people have problems. That shit happens all.
Yeah.
John Hill, no way.
Oh, big dick Johnny.
Big deck Johnny. But I mean, from what I read, absolutely. Because if you have to overcome that, you know, and you do, you have to overcome it, and then it takes years to get over it, and you move on. And most of the time in that stuff, you can come out stronger. Because no matter what happens in relationships, I'll admit it. Everybody should admit it. It's both sides. It's both sides. I don't care who. If you know, I was. This is so wrong.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna say it. And people are gonna think I'm a misogynist.
Oh, now I want to know.
It's just us.
It's just us.
Well, I mean, somebody.
There's only
I overheard
140
somebody
people.
talking about Bill Clinton
Okay.
sleeping with Monica Lewinsky. And
Were they sleeping?
And somebody said, or whatever with John Monica Lewinsky. And I was at a big Republican event, so of course
Okay.
they're going to attack him.
Okay.
And they asked, you know, hey, what in the world did Hillary do to deserve that? And then one of the ladies over in the corner goes, what did she not do to deserve that? You know, that's kind of what he yelled out. So, I mean, it just goes to show you're not getting your cups filled all the time. Both sides.
It always takes two. That's when people get so mad at the one who cheated or whatever. Well, there's a reason that happened. Now, it took me a long time to get to this point for my first. I'll be honest.
From your first marriage.
Yeah, it took me, but evidently I was not filling the cup. There was a lot more going on than I was aware of. You know.
And looking back now.
Oh, this book I may vomit.
Oh, man.
So basically, though, you know, we can't go back.
No.
You can't go back on what's said. All we can do is try to make the future different. You know, and it takes 2 to 1 to do that. But I personally think counseling's huge. Even if you both read this and go through the
Yeah.
exercises,
I think that sounds
I would
fun.
agree.
it's really important.
But does anyone else have someone who'd be like, really, this is the quality time you want to spend? This is.
And then we got what 30 seconds left.
Ah!
So last statement. 2
Okay.
statements. The high divorce rate in our country, based from Gary Chapman says, is witnessed basically because of how many people have emotional love tanks. And when your emotional love tank is not being filled, shit hits the fan.
Got it.
And to be successful, we have to take the time to understand our partner, and we have to take the time to understand their love language. And if you do, and if you work at it, and if you fill their emotional tank, then life can be good. There it is. The 5 love languages. So,
If I may say one thing, but I know we're out of time here,
Okay.
but like I would definitely suggest you ask yourself first, you know, to your partner, am I filling their love tank before you decide they're not filling your love tank?
Yeah.
well, that's the goal. The happier they are, the happier you are.
Oh,
Exactly.
100%.
So anyways, any final words, Jenny?
No, I'm just so happy all these people are on. And if you want to text us or anything and tell us any information, because we didn't want to call on y'all because this is kind of private. And
I really like this topic though. This is
I know,
fun.
but we're going to go back to some business stuff for the next 2 weeks. And
No,
we're
yeah.
going to continue to jump around.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to jump
So,
around.
but text if you have anything you want to share, put it in the feed, whatever. We love to hear from you all. That's what this is all about, our connections.
Yeah, and thank you for your comments. And if we offended any of you today,
Oh, it's all Chuck.
don't listen.
And I just want to thank everyone on
Thanks, Michelle.
Facebook who's been commenting. Tom Hale, you know, wrote some great things like "Love is a Choice," and you know,
Thanks, Ray.
Rayanne, thank you. She showed us some love too for Monday Motivation. Thank you guys for commenting. It actually does help the algorithm, and you know.
And that is actually Adam's love language.
That is,
Like, comment
that is
and
my
share the
love.
post.
If you guys want to, you know, show me love with my love language, go onto Facebook and share this and
Thanks,
comment
Ken.
on it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. And, you know, anytime you guys do want to talk about anything, we're always here for you. So thank you, guys. Make it a great week. Been married 40 years. Wait. And I'm glad I tuned in. I got something out of this. Thank you, Janie.
Yes.
That makes it all worth it. And hey, if your cameras are on, we'll call on you.
Yes.
If your cameras are off, to us, that means you don't want to be bothered. So don't give us any crap if we didn't call on you today. Keep
Right.
your camera on, and that means we know you want to engage. So, and Duffy, thanks for your comments, buddy. All right, guys, thank you. Have a great week. Happy Monday. Let's go out and crush it this week, and you know, go do something nice for your spouse at home or your significant other, or just do something nice for somebody
Yeah.
if you don't have one. So, anyways, okay, we'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.